Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon, so a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Phoenix Rising 86, Retro Bill, More Books, Cannabear, Fibre Oats, Rob H, Ben White, John Kays, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Will Brax, Mel B Styles, Troy Shuker, Hairy Blade, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, The Real Gabster, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Texas Mike, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Discord and Google so you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show.
Hey, Nathan.
Hello.
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 Neil, what are you doing?
What's happening, guys?
It's all good,
You
Neil.
all good, man?
Well, how about that Johnny Depp?
What about him? I'm watching the case with great interest, I've got to be honest.
Me too. Well, everybody's on his side. Hey, listen, it's not the first time a guy's been beat up by his old lady. You hear it all the time. How you
Yeah,
doing,
that's one of
Ken?
the better cartoons. One of the better cartoons I've seen in a while.
Good morning.
Morning.
Nathan, what show is this today?
1642.
Thank you.
A very good year, I must say. So you see Sean Hawkins' remarks in Master B?
Yeah.
In Master B?
Yeah.
No, he didn't put it there. Brian put it there.
Oh, right.
No,
No.
I got him from Master B. You want me to read them?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. On flat Earth, you would need to know the height of all the celestial bodies to know what the circle of equal altitude is. The only way it works with just using the angle is on the globe. The reason why the manuals don't mention the altitude of the bodies is because we don't live on a flat Earth. This guy is beyond stupid.
That's right. He is beyond stupid.
Let's break him down. On flat Earth, you would need to know the height of all celestial bodies to know what the circle of equal altitude is.
Incorrect.
Well, if he means elevation angle height, yeah, but not the actual height.
Yeah, elevation angle, not elevation. Now,
Correct.
they assert that there's a height to these stars, varying heights no less. But when they do celestial navigation, they set them at an infinite distance. Now, we don't ascribe any height at any point, and neither does celestial navigation.
That's exactly what I was going to say, and you said it perfectly. They don't even use it in celestial navigation, so why is he bringing it up?
That battle is with celestial navigation, not us. Take it up with them.
Number two, the only way it works with just using the angle is on the globe.
You can't get the angle from a globe, so it doesn't just work by getting the angle from a globe, because you can't get the angle from a globe. The bottom line is curved for you, so there's no angle to acquire. It only works on a flat plane.
Yeah, that's the most ridiculous statement out of all of them.
Oh, that was a good one. All right, last one. The reason why the manuals don't mention the altitude of the bodies is because we don't live on the flat Earth.
They do very specifically mention the altitude angle measurement that you need in order to get your circle of equal altitude. So you're measuring an altitude angle. Again, it does mention it. It just doesn't give a height. Whereas your distance is based on R, and who was it? Not Kepler. Oh, I can never remember this guy. The guy who said Brahe. Well, they've got to be massive if they're those distances, right? Well, those distances are completely ignored when you try and explain away an angle that you have to get from a flat Earth used with a sphere and the angle transposed to the centre of it on a flat plane. Well, then you'll have angles to distances that you're ignoring and changing from the claimed distances on a heliocentric model to an infinite distance on a heliocentric model. So you're constantly concerned about distances that you ascribe for an angle that you can't measure. We don't worry about it. Neither does celestial navigation.
Yeah, in fact, they go as far as saying, and they make a point of it, that it's not, the distance is not what we're looking for. It's the angular relationship to the person using the sextant. And it's irrelevant. We've posted these before. It has nothing to do with the actual distance of the star or sun, but it's angular relationship to the horizon and the observer. I'm going to post an image for you in Master B. Do you have it?
Sextant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sextant is an instrument used to measure the angle between two objects. It is used to measure the angle between the North Star and I know they have problems saying this one because they don't want anything on the surface. Someone help me, please.
Horizon.
Oh, thank you. It can also be used to find latitude by sighting the sun at noon and Polaris at night. Think on that one.
Trimmed out a discussion from yesterday, John. I know the other people were part of it, but you were the main part of it. Bit of Jackanory. You told your story of Aristophanes, and I told my story of Al-Biruni, and how they both needed a flat plane. So that's been trimmed down into a very short, maybe 8-minute video.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty simple concept once you understand that you need a flat plane to acquire the angle.
I didn't hear at the time, but you were like, Aristophanes is a man way back when who used to wear a dress. That was how you started. I didn't pick that up at the time.
Yeah. Hey, listen, this has got them scrambling. They're losing their mind. Actually, they're burning their brain cells up with this, if they have any.
You would know. I mean, whoever posted Sean Hawkins' comments obviously keeping their ear to the ground. That ain't me anymore. It hasn't been me for such a long time. In terms of,
That's Brian.
There is no current events in Flat Earth as far as I'm concerned, right? There's just wading our way through the bullshit, pulling it apart piece by piece. And then there's a community of people trying to stop that process. But that doesn't give you any actual current events. Do you know what I mean? There's no up to date on the news in flat Earth. It's like Earth is just flat. It's kind of functioning how it's functioning, and a lot of the things that are being done and claimed to be done on a globe are actually in functional application being done on a flat plane. It is just what it is. So why keep up with the opponents and their opposition to us? I'm not intending to start a revolution or start a political party, or, you know, I'm not really intending to do anything from that point of view. So it's like, well, why do I need to keep up to date with our rather depressing opponents who are all miserable?
Some material, that's all. Brian posted stupidity. It's fun sometimes to post how they think. Try to figure out what you know, when you're presented with the amount of evidence that we present here, and you still don't like even try to grasp it, or you're just fighting against it, then there's something wrong.
Well, they don't understand the words, I guess, that they either hear us say or that they use in response, judging from the numpty clips. And I really think it's a base thing of angles to a surface and angles from a surface. I don't think they understand the difference. I mean, it's slight, but there is a difference in those two sentences.
Absolutely.
I think, I can't speak for all of them because some of them are certifiable, but I think they do know, and they're just twisting words.
Maybe. Or they found a way that the words can be twisted to allow their cognitive dissonance to be less or more, I forget which you should work it out to, but less or more pervasive.
Could be that they're embarrassed too, you know?
Nathan, go to the last image of Masterby, please.
Okay.
All right, so this is a kind of a horizontal drawing image of sextant. The first one shows setup for the artificial horizon. What do you notice clearly about that artificial horizon?
Which one? There's loads of scribble.
It's to the left, the very first one on the left.
It's on an angle, the horizon.
The setup of the artificial horizon has to be level, 180.
This isn't a great diagram, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, but the whole point is, if you go to the far right, you can see a sextant in a larger view, and then a horizon curve in a smaller view with a straight line tangent. How come they can't use a curve?
Can't get an angle from a curve. You need two straight lines for that.
Exactly.
That's why the ball game is over. That's why I jumped out when I started reading, and when you guys started seeing how they write about it, we all said, "Wow, why don't you just admit you live on a flat plane?"
Yeah, but they'll take that picture and they'll say, look, see, you're getting it on look at the curve right there. You're getting a tangent point right there. That's all we need.
But that's not there when you're doing it in actuality. This is a drawing.
Yeah, I know.
It's the Muppet vision trying to tell you this is what's happening. That's why they say, well, this is why I got Prototat to admit what a right angle was, because he was saying that in Harold Jacobi's book, on page 70, I believe, that Harold Jacobi has a drawing of a sphere like we see all the time. So how could I be using Harold Jacobi as a source? And I've already said this many times, all the books, all the articles I get are not ever one from a flat earther. They're all from globies. They're all from people who were convinced that they live on a sphere. So they always have to draw the sphere, but they know they can't get an angle. So they draw a tangent line or a tangent plane So they're constantly doing these drawings, side-on view of a circle that they want you to think is a globe. So just because they're fooled and the illustrations continue to still fool people, that doesn't mean I can't take other parts of what they say and find an inconsistency, and like subtract from 90, like right angle, like triangulation. How does that work on a globe surface in that 2D circle that you want me to think is a sphere that I live on? How does that work then? How do you insert that in the same book in a different chapter?
That's all or nothing fallacy to say that if you use one citations from a reference, you have to accept the whole reference is true.
Correct.
That's crap.
Listen, the one guy in chat, I was going back and forth with him, and he admitted, he says, listen, you can't get it from a curved surface. That's why we show you how we get it from the center of the Earth. And it's like, are you really, am I hearing what you're saying right now?
Yeah, they're conceding. Part of the argument for celestial navigation requires that they just accept that they're getting the angle from a flat plane. That's part of their acceptance, and it's part of the documentation, which is why it's so beautiful. You've got 10th giving them their explanations for how they, in their globe faith, acquire an angle from a flat plane. That's how it's done. So when they go and look up their references, which are all the same, this is 10th point, all the same as 10ths, because the books aren't being written by flat earthers, they're being written by globe heads. So their detailed explanations of how you measure a flat plane stand for them and us.
Well, I don't know if it stands for them, because they can't get the angle from the curved surface, and that's where they're supposed to be taking the measurement from.
They're not getting it from the curved surface. That's the whole point.
Exactly. Like the guy said to me, we're showing you how we do it, how we get it from the curved Earth. We just take it to the center where it's flat. What's the problem?
The way they do it in the drawings and in the written explanation to the drawings is they draw a circle. They obviously have an equator of that circle, a diameter, let's say, and everything's emanating from there. Longitude, latitude meet there. That's the vertex for them, is on that disk, if you cut that in half, as we've shown in pictures. How they say it works on their globe is to draw a tangent plane and transpose by a corresponding angle back to the center what they think they're doing from a curved surface, because sunlight is coming in parallel. And if sunlight comes in parallel, then the angles will correspond to be the same from the surface with a tangent plane mirroring an actual surface that isn't there, but saying, well, we're actually getting it from a cutout Earth where there is a flat baseline, but that's the whole center of the Earth from every direction to the celestial equator, matching the Earth's equator as a flat disk. So, go on.
I was going to say, all I heard from that is we use an oxymoron to justify why we need a flat plane.
Yeah.
They're insane.
No, that's the whole point. This is why their books are the best resources to go to. Just got a few more. Hold on. I got The Ever-Changing Sky, A Guide to Celestial Sphere by James B. Kaler, Kaler. Astronomy for Astronavigation, I showed last week from Jack Case. Fundamental Astronomy, Celestial Calculations, Plane and Spherical Trig by Palmer, Lee, and Kimball. Oh yeah, the hits keep on coming.
That spherical trig gets me all the time. I know it's a thing. I know it is, but it just sounds like a contradiction.
Well, it's getting to the point where, like, I can almost guarantee that they'll say, well, if we lived on a flat plane, it would look curved. just so they can get on the other side of this argument,
Well, they do say there would be no horizon if the Earth was flat. Don't you know? It has to be a sphere because there's a horizon.
They're so used to Muppet Vision orthographic view that when it's drawn without a curve, they think there's no horizon.
Well, you have that nice slide by Andrew Thomas Young, X marks the spot, right? They do that all the time and fool them. There's no geometric Earth curve horizon, but they think there is.
They got 20 infinite vision, 20 infinite.
I'm going to post a picture out of Harold Jacoby's book and show you what Prototad was trying to do with his all or nothing thing.
Yeah, he was recently in my comments saying, these guys just can't get past the elevation angle. My reply, total projection. You mean you can't get past the flat Earth elevation angle you require to measure to move forward to claim you're on a globe? Yeah, project that fact back onto us like we can't get past this flat Earth you need to get this angle. Yeah, that's where the argument ends. That's why we'll never get past it, as you put it, because you can't get past it. You require to measure it, and it is a flat Earth angle.
Well said.
Well, if you'll just let me go past the point of the argument where I concede and use the information that you acquire after you understand this, I can then go back and debunk my whole understanding of it to begin with. See? Makes complete sense.
We had anything from Discord? Yeah, someone said hello to Neil, didn't they?
Stevie, come on, Stevie. What do you got?
Yep, sorry, I was just away from my mic is all. No, I've been listening to you guys.
I just wanted to check Discord was okay.
Yep, yeah, sounds good.
Good.
All right, I got those two images from Harold Jacoby's book.
Okay, first one's up.
Is that the one with the dip of the horizon in the circle?
The one with the geometric horizon and an astronomical horizon?
Yeah, the one. It's the image is on page 71. And so he says, well, look, even Harold Jacoby shows you we're on the globe. He shows this picture, right, with the center of the Earth and the zenith going through the observer. And so you can see that, right? Now, if you go to the next one, because all he said was he shows a picture. This is the chapter at the beginning, page 61. The image of that orthographic circle and their craziness is on page 71. We have twice made reference to this instrument. Once, page 5, as a contrivance for asserting by observation how high the sun is in the sky, and again, on page 59, in the measurement of the danger angle. These two uses of the sextant are not inconsistent, for it is really intended for the measurement of any angle, page 8, formed at the observer's eye by two lines drawn to two distant objects. In the case of the danger angle, these two distant objects are landmarks ashore. In the case of the sun, they are the horizon line where sea and sky seem to meet, and the sun itself. This height of sun, or of any star, in the sky is called its altitude. And so the altitude is always an angle, not a distance actual, right? It's just an angle, he even says it right there, to be measured in degrees in minutes. The point directly overhead is the zenith. The angle between lines drawn to horizon and zenith is 90 degrees, or a right angle. It's finished the minute he says this. that drawing is not real to this statement. You can't draw that drawing to this statement on page 71. That's what you see when you get their books, is the inconsistencies in the violation of the law of non-contradiction.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon, and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon, and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. Now, we are joined by Arwin, trying to get in right in the middle of my introduction, 10th Man, Refracted Curvature, Neil, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Yo, 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 hello.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, hey.
Yay, that's
Good
the level of
afternoon.
enthusiasm I love. Couldn't be more pleased.
Yeah,
Any evidence
I
that you can
can-
acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline?
Nonsense.
There'll never be any.
One cannot acquire an elevation angle from a curved baseline. It must be straight. It must be flat. Earth is flat.
Well, what do you do if you're like standing on a really high hill and it's super misty and you can really only see the curved hill around you and you still want to use the sextant, or you have to?
If the curved hill
What
that
do you
you're
do
talking
then?
about is a horizon, then you can still use that. If you've got an item in the sky to measure to and you've got a horizon of any description, that horizon can be used. Now, if you're saying that you've got a topographical horizon as opposed to a horizon in the distance, i.e. there's just something like a wall right close to you, well, that isn't a horizon. That's just a limitation, a literal limitation to your view. Well, no, in that case, you'd have to crack out your artificial horizon or your bubble sextant. That's if you could see something. You said it was foggy. Well,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
how are you going to see the star or the sun or whatever it is you're measuring in the sky if that's the case?
Well, maybe if it's foggy more close to the ground, but right above you, you can still see some clear sky and stars and all that.
Yeah, that's going to be the way they would do it at sea, right? 10th, that's basically what you're going to do. Wait till you can.
Well, yeah, if you can't see the stars, fold it up, wait for a better time. If you can't see the horizon, fold it up, wait for a better time. That's pretty much it. That's why they don't use the bubble sextant or the artificial horizon at sea, is because the ships are also tossing and turning. So you've got to have those good days to be able to do it. I've read where they've gone weeks without seeing anything, and they've kept close record of their dead reckoning and start all over again.
Man,
Okay.
so you really don't want to get stuck in a giant storm for like a week in the middle
Correct.
of the ocean.
Correct.
Because you can't navigate either. That sucks.
I think
No,
that's
you just start all over again. That's all.
well, it's just
But
generally
you
bad
might
news all
still
round,
use
right?
GPS or something.
Being in a storm at sea is just generally bad news all round. You don't want it, or in the air for that matter.
That's correct.
Well,
Any
it's-
evidence?
Hang on. No, basically, there's different methods. There's a Mark St. Hilaire method. There's all these different, the Sumner method, which is very closely related. But the whole point is your first guess is where you think you are. You don't even, but you're going to be close within the 50 miles, 100 miles even, some of them say. And you're okay if you do that. And you get that from Dead Reckoning. And you do it by other means, as you know, listen to the book, from your log and so forth. And so let's say there's a storm for a week. Now you've been tossed and turned around, but what you've been doing all along is saying, okay, here's the compass, here's what it's saying each day, every half hour we pull it out, and then here's our drift, and they throw the rope out there with the knots in it to figure how fast they were going. They had a big old egg timer to figure out the time with the knots speed. And, you know, these were all antiquated things in antiquity that they were doing, because if they got a storm, like Arwen said, for a week, they got to start all over again. So now they got to guess where they are. And then when they start going to the tables, and then they do the longitude with, GMT and the time set to the Greenwich and their sun at noon versus Greenwich sun at noon. Oh, okay. So we're off by this much based on where we thought we were to where we actually are, then make corrections and they go again.
Any evidence of axial rotation of the Earth-based variety?
None whatsoever. You'd see drift. This is a very important, very simple, very overlooked part of their lie, because if the Earth is turning, the Earth is turning. Okay, none of us feel it. Yeah, but it is. You've been in a car, right, with the windows up. You don't feel it. I go, no, I feel it. I feel the tires on the road. Well, how about the plane? Yeah, I feel it. Turbulence in the sky. Okay, but almost you don't feel it, right? I go, no, I always feel it. Okay, well, just assume you don't feel it. I go, how can I assume I don't feel it when I feel it? I mean, they just lie to themselves. If the Earth is turning, and you get up in a hot air balloon, the Earth should be turning underneath you, as Neil deGrasse Tyson says it does for a football.
The claim that we have an axis to have rotation is a violation of the celestial sphere model.
I hate it when you get right to the point.
Who was that? Go ahead, whoever that was.
I just said, yes, it is.
You take all the fun out of it, John, Nathan.
Yeah, well, he used to do it to me every day for about a month. I'd be like launching into, well, if you've got a single reference frame, you've not got any drift to account for. And if you've got two reference frame, you've got Charlotte, North Carolina to LA only taking an hour and a half. So therefore the Earth's not turning underneath. And when they tell us that the Earth wouldn't be expected to be seen turning underneath, then they've got no drift. Then John would open his line and go, having an axis of rotation violates the celestial sphere model. Well, that puts an end to that conversation now, doesn't it?
Well, he says I object first.
Maybe he's been watching the Johnny Depp trial with us.
Objection, Your Honor.
I see so many parallels in courtrooms. I realise the evidential standard's very different here, but in terms of the way we operate, it's very similar to a courtroom setting in many instances. You know, our tolerance is very low and our standards are very high. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nathan, I've heard the Johnny Depp trial is pretty exciting.
Pretty exciting.
Heard.
Boom, boom.
Oh, no, but that's why it is fascinating, because you can see like the similarities.
Obviously, there's things that don't parallel also, but yeah.
No, but what parallels is two sides with a different story. And which one you got to vet out is the true one, right?
Basically,
that's like us, right? We're saying on the housekeeping questions, like the one we just asked, and then they'll come in and say something, and then now it's time to drill down deep and see what words and definitions don't mean anything, they say. Well, why? Because we're drilling down to see what each word you just used in defense of your lie meant or didn't mean, or what you tried to do. They just run scared. That's why you have to drill down on everything everyone is saying in this type of arena, because when we say elevation angle, we mean one thing. And when they say elevation angle, they mean from the center of the Earth.
Indeed. And when they oppose the argument, they are allowed to lie. As much as they can be impeached on their lies or their contradictions, they can lie. There's nothing physically stopping them from doing so, and they often do. They just get caught out on their lies, which is the same as here. You know, you get the opportunity to parrot out your nonsense, and when it gets pulled apart, normally that's where the interruptions and obfuscation and the dissemination into chaos begins from our opponent who's being proven wrong. Now that is definitely not paralleled. That would be put a stop to. Other than that, yeah, the standards, yes, they're different. Yes, we tend to focus on physics. But they're looking for an explanation and then a response to pull apart the explanation and the inconsistencies being highlighted along that journey. Regardless of how truthful each party may think their information is at the time, when it's pulled apart by an opponent, you see the flaws in the logic and flaws in the argument. Exactly the same as here.
Yeah, but look at even yesterday with that Kent Wheeler thing, not to bring it up again, but all of that nonsense he put forth, the way it was broken down word by word, you saw how silly it sounded.
Yeah, but if you're talking to the uninitiated, convoluted word salad can sound really, really convincing. And then if you only focus on one aspect of your word salad, in that case we had capacitance and permeability and then that's connected to the unknown fabric of the world, something like that, was the description of ether. So if you hear that and you're like, well, I know what capacitance is, and then that gets focused on, you're like, well, you're just talking about that. You're not talking about ether. You're now just talking about electricity rather than ether. But because it's part of the overall description in the word salad, unless you pull apart each and every word that's being used by, in that instance, Ken Wheeler, to define what ether actually is, you can't get to the bottom of what that string of word salad means and how it's nonsense, contradictions in most instances. Like literally the one word that follows the next contradicts the previous.
Yep.
I'll give you an example. Longitude and latitude. To the glober, that means something on the ball, a sphere. To maps, it's grid lines.
How are they measured? But how are they acquired? Shane Bryant's not here.
Well, elevation angles to Polaris is where they got it. I mean, this is written down because if you're above the equator part of that longitude latitude, you're in the northern, as they call. And if you're below it, you're in the southern, as they call. And an elevation angle to Polaris, if you're right under it, well, you're at 90 degrees to it. It's right above you. And as you move towards that equator line, it goes to zero. And so you'll know exactly, this was prior to them figuring out time at sea with the chronometer. They could always get their latitude because all you had to do was take a sextant, shoot Polaris in the sky. And if you were at 40 or 50 or 60, you knew exactly where you were in relationship to the zero equator line. And so that's how they did it. And they will just go to that line and cross and sail east-west.
Yep.
Until they figured out longitude.
Again, I've said this more than once in the last month, which is shocking for my family household, but there we go. My wife very, very rarely shows any interest, given that I've been doing it for over 7 years now. But again, she overheard particular parts of the discussion in regards to the globe being a flat Earth model. And for whatever reason, that perked her interest. And she's like, well, what do you mean? So I explained to her elevation angle measurements to Polaris. And just by luck or whatever you want to call it, we've got a Mercator projection on the floor as a rug. So I showed her, I was like, well, this is how you, as you move around Polaris in a circle, all of the angles would be the same to it. And then when you back away 60 nautical miles, it'll drop towards the horizon 1 degree. Well, that you can use in a circle as it's seen and measured, but you can just straighten out that line and stick it on a map. Well, there's your line. But does that mean that the line represents a line that could be curled back up onto a sphere? Because that's what they're claiming. But then you can't get that angle that gave you the line in the first place. Now, the line on a square map isn't a line, it's a circle. It's a circle around Polaris that gives you an angle to it. 1 degree drop towards the horizon for every 60 nautical miles you back away from it. I.e., off a flat Earth, if you measure the angle to that star as you move away from it, it'll drop towards the horizon. But the measurement tool is an angle measuring tool. So from the flat baseline to the star, backing away from it and measuring it again, dropping towards the horizon, is a flat Earth measurement. You're measuring a baseline and an altitude angle.
It can only be done on a flat plane. Correct.
Not only can it has been done and has been used to develop the models and the maps. That is what's being used present tense.
Correct.
So there's no getting away from it, basically. Otherwise, they would have got away from it already. I mean, they've had a couple of 100 years, I would suggest, to figure this stuff out and move it away from the actual elevation angle measurements off a flat plane, and they haven't. They've given us GPS, so I suppose on the surface level you can say, well, it's global positioning system. Yeah, but it's using Cartesian coordinates. So it's still using the same exact principles the original maps use. They're still devised from flat Earth elevation angle measurements, and it's still using length, breadth and depth in a grid on a flat surface. So people have got a misapprehension about the mere title of things when you've got global in the word, that somehow that automatically means it's falling in a presuppositional orbit around a sphere Earth. It's like, no, nothing could be further from the truth, I'm afraid. Not only are the means of delivery probably being lied about by a huge extent, because they're saying these satellites, in quotes, are in space, a sky vacuum. Shout out to California Condor, who says the only thing on our flat Earth are lines of longitude. Well, no, sorry to be contradictory. Thank you very much, first and foremost, for the super chat. They're conceptual, like the equator. Yeah, you can measure. You can measure an angle to Polaris from any point, and then move around it in a circle and see that you get the same angle on the land that you're standing. But that's an imaginary line, just like the midpoint for the sun between the seasons can be called the equator when it's averaged. But there is no equator.
Nathan, you hit it right in the head when you said that's how they trick you, by putting the word global and satellites and all these things. That's how they keep the magic trick going.
Any evidence of the sky vacuum? That would be the notion that we can have gas pressure that we're all breathing without a container.
Ridiculous. If outer space was a place that men could travel to, then so would the gas.
Very well put. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
What's
No sign. We waited.
What's gravity? Well, gravity is the current gravity, I should say, is the bending of a fourth dimensional space-time caused by the uneven distribution of mass.
They'll throw little tricks at you, like glue yourself to a scale and go into hover or something, and you'll see no weight on the scale. They'll throw little tricks like that at you, which don't prove anything.
Yeah, meanwhile, gas expands in all directions. It's very much a state of matter that we experience. Gas doesn't go down, go boom, boom at 9.8 meters per second.
That's again another clue. The behavior of gas, as you just explained, everyone knows that. With a simple research, you can find out yourself. And yet they try to say something else. Same is true about an elevation angle. Everyone can do a little research and realize you need two lines to get an angle, a vertex. But then they'll twist it around like they do the gas. Everything is working on the flat plane exactly the way it is. And then they have to say, well, we need a flat surface. Where can we get one? Where can we get one? Oh, let's cut the Earth in half and say all the measurements come from that flat disk at the middle. And then we'll say sunlight comes in parallel so that we can have a corresponding angle when we draw that straight line that isn't there on the circle, but we need it in order to say it's corresponding. But then the sunlight has to be parallel. So, well, yeah, but it's divergent. No, I know, but don't worry, we can change that. We'll see.
Yeah. I think it was Phil B that said, where does it say in the second law of thermodynamics or natural law that you need containment for gas pressure?
Right, standard gas law, it's the V, isn't it? Volume.
The volume.
Yeah, Phil normally does that in my chat, and then he'll say, how do you explain how we've got whatever, I don't know the exact value, but at a given altitude, he'll ask why we have certain PSI of pressure up there. And you're like, what's the I? Per inch, right? Per square inch of surface area to press on. So without a container, you've got no I in PSI. So you say, oh, we've already got gas pressure pointing at the sky, appealing to it being a vacuum and us just having pressure anyway. It's like, well, you're going to qualify the pressure in a means that requires containment to qualify it. The amount of volume, and in the case of PSI, the amount of area the gas can press on in its container.
Yeah, it has to be contained.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Well, if there is, they never show us the process.
Wouldn't Michio Kaku be the one to ask about that?
Yes and no. I'll say yes just to lead you where you're going. Yes, I'm sure he would, as an astrophysicist. Theoretical physicist, correction.
Well, he says no one in my field uses the scientific method.
No, I think he said understand uses.
Yeah, they've got plenty of phenomena to study, but that's about it. Go on, whoever that was from Discord.
I'm just saying it's guesswork.
Leaps of logic.
Seat of your pants.
Speaking of guesswork, any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth? Dun 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 dun.
Now listen, the people that do celestial navigation should know, right? Because they cut the Earth in half, so we should ask them what's in the center.
Yeah, there is no centre. That violates the celestial sphere model. Any evidence of the distance to the Sun?
Any evidence of what the sun is?
I've heard people say it's 93 million miles away.
Sorry, they say it's that distance, but then when they talk about celestial navigation after the acquisition of a flat Earth elevation angle, they also talk about projecting it out to an infinite distance because it's very awkward having them at set distances that are different. If you're going to be measuring, well, I'll rephrase that. If you're going to be utilising flat Earth elevation angles in your claim to be sphere calculations, then you set them at an infinite distance. Obviously, I mean, the entire process is invalidated by the fact that you're measuring a flat Earth in the first place, but that is in fact what they do. Infinite distance. As opposed to the model and its set distances, I mean, that being a massive problem if you're going to claim that you've got your elevation angle from a flat Earth and then you're going to use it on a sphere, you better set them all to the same distance, right?
Well, if it's at an infinite distance, why is it casting divergent rays?
We have no idea
You're
what the
going to need a
distance is.
radius for that.
Well, they're going to need a radius for their claim distances because they use R and Kepler's third law of interplanetary motion, but they give them scaling values after presuppositions of R values and orbital motion. All of those presuppositions violate the celestial sphere model and require a flat Earth to measure the elevation angle to Polaris. So
I got my hand up. For a question.
For the radius as well.
Where did they get R?
Hold on. Let's ask the question. Any evidence of the R value, Earth radius? Go ahead, 10th.
Thank you. Yeah, where did they get R? How did they measure R? I mean, Al-Biruni is given credit, and he didn't even know anything about refraction, never used it when he measured the mountain first flat and then get on the mountain to do a dip to the horizon. So, I mean, there's so many holes in that story. Actually, the whole process helps us and destroys them.
Yeah, you needed the Earth to be flat in order to measure a radius.
Yes, that's correct. You're going to need a flat Earth for that. Speaking of which, I'm going to do a quick plug for a show that's out for members only at the moment, which is called Jackanory Globe. And it's a edited down section of yesterday's live show where John and I give our little renditions in story time format, Jackanory, hence the title, about Aristophanes and Al-Biruni's acquisition of angles from a flat Earth. We also go into the sky vacuum, because I think that's a reasonable summary of the current situation. The sky is not a vacuum. If it was, we wouldn't be breathing. We'd have no gas. Gas expands in all directions. Therefore, the sky vacuum and space, including all travel to it, are a violation of natural law. They never happened. They never will happen. All those stories from that claim to be fake region of a sky vacuum known as space are debunked by the second law of thermodynamics. Gas fills space. Further to that, all models and claims of a sphere Earth have been derived from flat Earth elevation angle measurements. And then, here's the stories of your version of how you measured your claim to be sphere Earth using flat Earth to do so. That's the concise summary of the argument for flat Earth to date. That's it, in that video. So if you want to see, when it comes out at the weekend, if you're a non-member, the summary of where flat Earth debate is at currently in 2022, then this is it. You can't get a globe model unless you use a flat Earth to measure it, and the sky is not a vacuum. Jackanory Globe, check it out when it comes out at the weekend. Or if you're a member, check it out now. Or if you're not a member, become a member. Smash the super chat. I think that concludes housekeeping. I think we asked everything.
Did you do molten iron core?
I did.
Okay.
Slipped it in with a little clown music. Any word on Phil and John?
What about the viable hypothesis?
Sorry, I had viable hypothesis.
I stepped away for a second. I heard Phil and John. I'm sorry.
Yeah, any update?
No, I actually didn't get on Discord yesterday, but I will today.
Okie dokie. Well, we'll see. Maybe something will come of it. Maybe it won't. Who knows? Who's it that said viable hypothesis? What were you referring to?
Sorry. Any viable? Did we ask the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics having a viable hypothesis?
We did. That's how we got into Michio Kaku. Did you have something to add on that in that regard?
Just to say they do not have a viable hypothesis. They have plenty of natural phenomenon, but you can't vary and manipulate them.
Right on. It's something that I hope when Bullbusters starts rolling again, because QE's had a load of computer issues, as am I at the moment, I'll be honest. We'll focus on that again. You know, I'm going to suggest that to QE. But we need to focus on that again. Not enough of the community after 4 years of us banging it home bi-weekly on Bullbusters for a significant period. Many of the people haven't picked up on it, don't understand it, and still claim science utilisation of the same magic trick we were deceived with. And it's kind of sad, really. You know, we should have progressed beyond that 4 years ago. A roadblock was put up. Let's not get into that in too much detail, but nevertheless, the other arguments have definitely made their way into the community. but not the scientific understanding that's required to know how you were deceived in the first place, and to prevent you being deceived further in future, not just by globe Earth and flat Earth, but by, notice I mentioned flat Earth in there, but by anything that's claiming to be science, and it's rife. Shout out to Tabor J. Eaton. What about this Antarctica crossing? Some YouTube captain. How do you think they will fake it? I don't know what they want to fake or why they would fake it in that way, because I don't know a great deal about Antarctica. I've got a singular first-hand account from Robert Shortman about his experience of what he called Antarctica. Now, I'm in no doubt that he did go to Antarctica, but what is it in relation to where anybody else goes? Because they're very much separated in terms of who owns what, even if you consider it as an island at the bottom of a sphere. So it's shrouded in mystery, and to me, if I'm ruthlessly honest, as much as it doesn't answer your question and kind of diverts your question, it seems like a magic trick. You wave one hand in the air, and while your audience is looking at that hand, you're doing something with the other. And Antarctica feels like the hand being waved. Don't look over here. No, there's nothing to see over here. That's a hand being waved. So, I don't know. It's a hard one to answer because it's shrouded in mystery, I feel, intentionally. Shout out to Chris Berry, who's become a member. Do not watch Moonfall. Your head may explode. Okay, maybe. Thanks for joining as a member.
Hey, listen, it's important that you get back to the scientific method and break it down once again. That way you won't have claims of real scientists and claims of the children of Israel being led out of Egypt, a natural observed phenomenon. I mean, we really got to get into it again.
I agree. Understanding what science is something that it shouldn't be too difficult to understand or take back on board, because you were told it in school. We all were, for the reason of its power later in life. So if you understand at a fundamental level, because you were taught it at an age where you were an information sponge, that science is an empirical method, it proves things. And if you can show how that method, logically speaking, is going to offer proof if performed correctly, that'll stay with you. And then in later life, when you're told by a quote-unquote scientist that he's right whether you like it or not, you'll accept it. The magic trick is complete. It's also...
As you're taught.
Go on.
I was just going to say you're taught what to think in school, not really how to think in the lower levels of school.
Yeah, indeed. This is what you will think. Understand it. And let's never
that's what
speak of it again.
Nathan's saying.
Go on.
Sorry, I was going to say that's what you're saying. And when you get older, you know that science means empiricism. Yes, he's right, whatever he says.
But you don't know that. You believe that because someone told you. And really, until I entered into this discussion, I just believed it offered empiricism. You know, I didn't understand the logic behind it or the reason behind it.
Chris Berry says, member for 19 months, Nathan. Yes, thank you very much for joining for such an extended period. Also, shout out to Godzilla, who joined for a 17-month period. Lots of people confident that I'll be around for a long time. I'm as confident as you. I was going to go into Phil Bell, as we were talking about him specifically. So a couple of times he's let slip his real fears and anxieties in this regard, which is to say that up until now, Professor Phil Bell has been rewarded with the respect in that notion that what he says as a man of science is to be understood and accepted as fact. Well, we threaten that in the most overt manner.
You would think he wouldn't say things or back people when they say things like water vapor isn't a gas.
That's just a
I think
gaff.
that'd be more.
To be honest, as much as you can poke fun at people for that, it's just a gaff. And everyone makes a gaff. He's caught up in the moment. That doesn't concern me. What does is when he lets slip his motivations for being here. His motivations are fear-based. No two ways about this in my mind based on what he says in our chats. He's concerned about his legacy being forgotten because what he has learned and what he has taught is being challenged by us, shown to be not as true, and therefore that threatens his power. Currently, he's quite an old guy, so he won't be around forever, but at the moment, while he is, his power is to say, I am a professor, so what I say stands. Respect my authority in that regard. And when he comes here, that's immediately evaporated. So therefore, if it's only evaporated here, and only here, that's okay for him, because it doesn't disseminate its way out throughout the Western world, dissolving his authority as it goes. So he needs to put a lid on it, because he's scared of losing his authority and power and position, and the respect that he gained from people just by saying he was a professor.
Well, that's the one common denominator that I'm seeing from cross-section of people I've talked to on the subject, is that when they're heavily invested, they argue harder against the points that we're making. In fact, to the point where they don't want to talk to you anymore. Whereas the people who aren't or have anything invested are very open and find it quite interesting.
So, Jean has a question, says via Super Chat, check out, quote, Rahu dash the Black Sun, end quote, by A Plain Truth 14. It's a technical breakdown on Black Sun. Very interesting. Thank you very much indeed for the Super Chat.
What does it say about somebody when either they use their credentials as a means of argument or they attack your lack of credentials because of the argument? What does it say about the strength of your argument? Either way.
Well, in and of itself, it's a fallacy. It's an ad hominem attack if they attack you based on your credentials rather than your argument.
So what does it say when they say, well, I have these credentials, that's why this argument is sound?
It's a fallacy.
Or something to that effect.
It's a flaw in their logic. It's a flawed position.
Right. Because you can have all the credentials in the world and it can be completely wrong. Or you can have no credentials and be completely right. It doesn't matter. Credentials don't mean anything.
Indeed. Hi, Adam.
Then, guys.
Well, on the flip side of that, Paul, wouldn't that mean that to assert that it means something for them to use that argument is also fallacious?
Well, what he's really saying is, I have all this knowledge and you don't, but that doesn't mean anything. So I don't care. You can know everything in the world and still be wrong. You know what I mean? I don't know. I know what you're saying, though.
In the behavioural panel analysis of people, they call it a resume statement. Normally, when you're not very confident about what you're saying or you're lying, you'll rattle off your credentials as a justification for the statement being true. So they call it, by behavioural analysis standards, a resume statement.
I've never heard that before. That's pretty good. I like that.
Just check out the behavioural panel, man. You'll love it. I mean, I watch a fair few different, or have over the years, dipped in and out of various different behavioural experts. And I find myself disagreeing as much as I agree with some of their analyses. Not that I'm a behavioural expert, but I just think, no, I don't necessarily agree with your interpretation of that. But when it's four of them, which it is in this instance, it makes it completely unique in terms of how they pull apart, and they disagree with each other like we do. You know, they're not always in agreement with one another. Most of the time they are, I'll admit that. But fascinating to watch them pull apart some of the things that they look at. Skirting away from the behavioural panel just for a second, if you check out that channel, it's a YouTube channel in case anybody hadn't picked up on that. Four guys that watch, they're watching Amber Heard and Johnny Depp at the moment in terms of they're pulling apart the body language of both Amber Heard reacting to Johnny Depp's witnesses in their last video, and indeed Johnny Depp's body language. They also did it for the case that was in the UK in 2020. So they've analysed that. There's my segue back over to Johnny Depp. One of the things I wanted to talk about, because Adam's joined, was the two different, let's call them for the sake of this discussion, scientists, Adam, that have gone on the stand both in defence of Johnny Depp in assessment of Amber Heard and in favour of Amber Heard in assessment of Amber Heard. Have you seen those two individuals take the stand in that particular instance, Adam?
No, I've not caught that, but I'll have to take scientists, you say?
Indeed, scientists, yes.
Behavioural scientists.
Correct, yes.
Which is a posh way of saying psychology, having to admit that it's a humanity, not a science.
Correct. So one of them was, I can't remember if she's called Doctor, perhaps it's Doctor, I forget the title, but Curry is her second name. And when she was under cross-examination, she made it plain that upon running her tests that she presents science and only the information that the science has alluded to. And when she said it with, looking over her spectacles in a very professional manner. She was excellent, actually. I can't deny she was a fantastic witness, unlike the doctor that's been put on the stand for Amber Heard. He's pretty awful. But there we go, that's just my opinion. As she said it, there was a hush that came over the entire courtroom as she said it. It was so powerful. And total nonsense. She's a quack. She's a pseudoscientist. There is not one shred of science that psychologist will ever present you ever. Your little ticking boxes aren't science. Let's get that plain. Now, I'm not demeaning this entire field. I understand that there is some excellent research and analysis gone into human behaviour. I'm not going to deny that. One of the things I studied before this very subject was psychopathy. There we go, I'll get there in the end. Which was a fascinating subject for me to just look into. And that's all in that field. But it definitely isn't science. But the moment that very well credited, very believable woman stated that what she presented to the court on behalf of the court, even though she was being paid by the plaintiff, was science, as I say, a hush came over the entire courtroom because they believed her. Because what she said was empirical, therefore. That's what she stated.
I have an A-level in psychology. So I got rid of physics, got on my nerves, and picked that up. And fundamentally, the first thing they're saying, because I'm a science boy, I'm doing chemistry, I'm doing maths and the likes, and we're going into this. So is they set the stall that it's not. This isn't science you're about to do now. We're not going to be. It wants to be science. It wants to have that status that it's a science. But as I said, it's a humanity, and everything they try to do will try and use empiricism. They'll try and use that to validate all the conclusions. But the first thing you learn in this is we're never going to get to a cause and effect. We're dealing with the workings of the mind, okay? And therefore, there is no direct cause and effect. It's all, and this is how you analyze everything in psychology, it's all probabilities. It's all correlation based. So there is no science because every relationship that you draw between two parameters is always a correlation. There's never any science in linking the two. It's always just statistical.
The trick is to spark that part of your brain that you had when I described you as an information sponge, member of the audience I'm referring to, when you were in 5th grade and they told you about the scientific method, cause and effect relationships, independent variable and dependent variable, varying something to cause something, the empirical method of science. So when that particular, I don't want to demean it because I don't think, as I said earlier, I think I've qualified this enough to say that I'm not intentionally trying to demean what she said or presented, merely the attribution of scientific validity to studies of human behaviour. And as Adam's already described, and I've already described, that simply isn't the case. But it is an extremely effective utilisation of the magic trick. I say science, you hear proven. Excellent use of the trick. But when I heard it, well, I had a little smile to myself. It's like, yeah, that came across well, love. Yeah, you really did hammer the empiricism of your completely non-empirical method home there, didn't you, love? Good job, good job. Yeah, because everyone in the audience, aka jury, hears that and goes, science, impressive. Yeah, it didn't mean anything. They did it. Did she establish a phenomena and then wonder what caused it and varied the cause that she presumed would cause it, see if it caused it? No. She ticked a few boxes. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to demean those boxes. Those tests have been very well honed. They're very well polished. Just not empirical. Not science.
And the problem with psychology to begin with, too, sorry, I'm picking some sausage, is you can't do the scientific method, truly, because you run into ethical and moral implications. So to understand how maybe depravity affects the psyche, it means you would have to deprive a child or a person of certain things. That's why the atrocities of the Holocaust is so bad. That's why the Nuremberg trial came into play. There are certain things you cannot do, even within the psychology, to prove or disprove your theory, because you're going to have to inflict pain or suffering on someone to accomplish that, and that will never happen. Well, it may happen if the person's evil, but you can't do it. So true science can never be done on psychology, truly.
Shout out to Godzilla37 who says, support what you like or it goes away. Wait, I don't support Tim, yet he's still here. Might have to reword this. Thank you very much indeed for your support, Godzilla. Really appreciate it.
To speak to that again, science is cause and effect. Humans don't all react the same. And this is the thing, it's the study of human behavior that you can't have a cause and effect. You can have a probability of how somebody's likely to, but it's not an on-off switch. Not every human behaves exactly the same in the similar circumstances. So by the very definition of what you're analysing, it can't be science, because we're not trying to elucidate a cause and effect relationship here.
So let's establish what a cause is and what an effect is. Well, an effect is your step one in the scientific method. That would be the observation of a naturally occurring phenomena, something that happens in nature. Well, what makes it a phenomena in science? Well, first and foremost, it's your dependent variable in your hypothesis. That thing that you saw happening, that's your dependent variable. Now, it's not a dependent variable, aka observed phenomena, until you actually observe it happening. So, to be a dependent variable in a scientific prediction, aka hypothesis, first it must actually happen and you must witness it actually happening. Ergo, it can't be something that happened in the past that you postulate a cause for, as will be made clear later in the method. So an effect is something that you observe in nature happening. If it's not doing anything, it's not an effect. A tree isn't an effect. It's a concrete noun. It doesn't do anything. Leaf falling from tree? That's a natural phenomena that you can study the cause of. So that's a dependent variable, aka effect. Well, once you've got something occurring in nature, an effect, a dependent variable, that's half of a hypothesis. You're halfway there to a scientific prediction already just by seeing something happen and saying what it is. Leaf falling from a tree. So, what do you do with it? Well, you say, I wonder what causes it. That's your question when they bastardise the method and describe it in Science Buddies as step one being ask a question. No, the question you ask is in regards to your dependent variable, aka the phenomena you want to know the cause of. So the question is, what caused that? And the way you establish what causes it is you suppose what might cause it. I think this caused that. Well, then you've got both halves of a scientific prediction. That's a hypothesis. Your independent variable, that would be your cause that you assume will make the effect happen. So what makes an independent variable an independent variable? Well, first and foremost, it's got to be real, a bit like the dependent variable. Second of all, it is, in your hypothesis at least, your independent variable. And third, it must be capable of being varied and manipulated by you, the researcher. So not anything in fantasy land or things that are gravity that can't be controlled or manipulated by you. They've got to be an actual thing that you can physically vary. So that's it. You've got a full 2-step process established in a 3-step method. Step 1, observe something happening. Step 2, formulate a hypothesis. Well, that's your independent variable, presumed cause of the effect, and your dependent variable, effect you're trying to figure out the cause of. If A, independent variable, then B, dependent variable. That's a hypothesis. Also known as an alternative hypothesis because there is another side to it, which is the null, which is if A, what you vary physically to see if it causes your effect, then not B, it does not cause the effect. That's known as a null hypothesis. And this independent variable, dependent variable cause and effect relationship, otherwise known as a scientific prediction, aka hypothesis, is yet to be validated. So don't mistake this prediction, scientific prediction hypothesis, as an explanation. If A then B, or if A not B, well, you've got to figure out which one is which. Does it cause it or doesn't it? Well, that's an experiment, step 3 in the method. Vary A and see if it causes B. If you vary A, your presumed cause of the effect, and it causes the effect, then you validate your alternative hypothesis. A causes B. Tick. As soon as you tick your alternative, you have to put a line through your null. Because A can't both cause B and not cause B at the same time. It violates the law of non-contradiction. A can't both be the cause.
And stuff, and my laptop and all that. Boy, don't come in here jumping around, please. Max, what are you doing?
You
want to
go on mute, please?
I was at the end of it anyway, so yeah, that's it. You validate your experimentation by varying A, see if it causes B, and if it does, you validate your alternative. If it doesn't, that would be to say you vary A and nothing happens, the effect you want to see happening doesn't, then you validate your null. You put a tick next to if A, that's your varying A, your presumed cause, then not B, the effect you're studying. Well, you varied it, it didn't cause it, so you put a tick next to your null and a line through your alternative. So therefore, you have proven either your null or your alternative. One or other will be proven. That's why it's empirical. Now, that utilization of that method is what gives you the empiricism if you observe a phenomena, formulate a hypothesis, and perform a valid experiment. That's science. So when you talk about tick boxes and psychology and hair products and tyres and anything else that's claimed to have science, wrong. Unless they've observed a phenomena in nature, varied and manipulated something to see if it causes it and caused it, then it's not science.
A lot of people will say that's too narrow.
Yeah, if you want empiricism, you better damn well be under the understanding that the methodology is going to be narrow and very hyper-specific. Not only in the methodology, but in the actual words and definitions of what you are doing. Hyper-specific, hyper-narrow. Yeah, empiricism doesn't come cheap.
Hey, you guys. Good morning.
Morning.
I wanted to change gears a little bit. I want to introduce John 817. He has a question.
Go ahead, John.
From Discord.
Where's Gene? Y'all
Gene.
saying John though. Y'all love saying Gene. Well, first thing first, camo hat engaged. Also, I had a question just for you guys. My brother always tells me about this. I'm a flat earther myself, but my brother always tells me, what about those incense at the mall that the smoke like rolls downhill?
What? What about the entrance at the mall where the smoke rolls downhill?
No, the incense, the little incense they sell,
Incense? I don't know what you're talking about. Anybody know what this guy's referring to? We don't have that here in England, as far as I'm aware.
You guys don't have smell good incense?
Yeah, it's
Gas is going down, going boom, boom. That's what they're saying.
Sorry, this is all
usually.
This is all very unfamiliar to me. Don't you all guys smell of piss, like we do?
Leave
Slightly.
my prostate out of this.
Smells of urine for sure.
Okay, I don't know
Yeah.
what your example is, but feel free. I don't know how to answer it because I don't know what you mean. Can
Is he
somebody
talking about those atomizers?
What? I know what the
just
claim
look up
is.
smoke incense waterfall or some shit in Google. Just look at a little picture of it.
Is smoke
Yeah, right. He's
solid or
saying
a
the gas
gas?
falls down.
Or some shit. Smoke.
He's saying gas falls down. That's what he's trying to say.
He's not saying. He's asking.
He's asking how you explain.
I don't want to see how do you explain that.
How do we explain it? How do we explain diffusion?
Is this kind of like the dry ice effect?
Yeah, that sounds like it. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's easy. Down is also all directions. Down
That's terrible.
is part of all directions. Yeah,
that was pretty terrible.
But it seems to
down
go
is part of all directions.
Okay, you've got a high concentration of gas and you're dumping it into an area. Well, entropy would dictate that given enough time, that gas will diffuse throughout the area that it has to diffuse. However, it's not immediately being presented to a vacuum. So it's not just going to expand out at a high rapid rate because there's stuff already in the air precluding it from doing so. So the diffusion rate is going to be based on how quickly it can disperse through pre-existing particles that preclude it in the air. Now, obviously, there are gaps in those particles, therefore it will eventually diffuse through it. But it doesn't alter the fact that while the process takes place, it's a high concentration being precluded by other gases that are around it.
I think I've got it on screen. I think I'll stop doing it. But yeah, I think that's a... If you look at the top of it, you summarise it perfectly. What you've got is, look, it's channeled. It can only go one way, so it's going down. But if you look, all of it, entropy is occurring at all of all of the phases. So you can see it. Look at the surface of this dense input. It's diffusing off. Look, it's all breaking up. It's only the fact that there's so much in such a little space that it's pooling a bit. But given the opportunity, look, can you see it's all dissipating? But it's only that concentration is so much and being constantly topped up that it appears like that. But it's following natural law there, isn't it? As it goes, look, and it just, you see even at the bottom, look, it's disappearing out of those concentrated areas.
Where would that be 10 hours from now?
Similar to carbon monoxide poisoning, isn't it? If you've got an input of concentration, it's going to pool around where you're inputting it. It's still going to then dissipate as it will do, but obviously the rate of input is greater than the rate of output, so you get pooling until the equilibrium can be reached. But you can see there coming off the sides, look, this isn't reaching the bottom. Look, up it goes. It's just in such a concentration that it's doing that first. But it's look at it all going up as soon as it's got the opportunity to.
Adam, this reminds me of that video Brian shared in that one part of Africa where there was that area where a heavy gas was floating for a while and then disappeared. Remember that?
Yeah, so that was the methane pit, wasn't it, or something? And
yeah,
or again, where's it pooling? It's pooling out the leak, the area where it's coming from. So if I'm constantly putting something in an area, and unless the rate of equalization is equal to the rate of input, you'll get pooling.
Well, we get that. We get that here. We have a gas pressure gradient on Earth. And the reason is simple, because the concentration is highest where the gases are produced. And they get less because they're not being produced in midair. So it doesn't really matter which gas you talk about. You're going to have more of it at ground level. And then less of it higher up where it's not being produced because it's dissipated.
In relation to this one, though, I mean, the obvious debunk is that that's smoke, which is
gas.
particulate matter. Yeah, not gas. So, I mean, obviously that's why you see such a waterfall effect, because it's smoke, isn't it? It's not gas. This is hot gas full of small bits of solid.
With that, I'll say if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, hit the PayPal link, joined as a member, and all that good stuff. Another massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live show possible. Once again, stay tuned if you're watching on an after show. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
Like things going down or up, dense or not, it has nothing to do with proving mass attractive mass.
Yeah, but that's how they hoodwink everybody, Eli. You know that.
Right, they show a density difference in a medium of air. I like there's a little back and forth right at the end in the chat on the live stream from this guy called Richard Cotton. He says, "Smoke is now a solid, eh?" And then later down the chat, Adam Price says, "Is dust solid?" Like, yeah, it's suspended solid. That's what smoke is. It's little tiny particles of solid that are suspended in the air. They're so small that they can be bounced off the gas particles, if you will. But doesn't change the effect that Adam showed. It's useful because it is analogous in some forms, right, Adam?
But what you're not seeing there is gas going down, going boom, boom. You're seeing smoke doing what smoke does. But you see, even there though, it's still going in all directions. You know what I mean? As I was saying, it's still lifting off at the concentration point. You're still seeing whiffs of smoke going up, still going in all directions. Being channeled down that thing though, isn't it? So you're getting a concentration build up. But as soon as entropy is allowed, as soon as the equilibrium is allowed to equilibrate, then it's all gone, isn't it? You take away that constant input from the burning incense. How long will that remain there? Not very. Entropy will play out pretty fast, and we'll be just left with an empty bit of pot again, won't you?
Yeah, when you have a gas leak, you don't get the dustpan and brush. You open the doors, isn't it?
Yeah. Right. Try and get the air to flow quicker. I mean, if you left it, you wouldn't have gas constantly in there. If you had a gas leak and you just left all the windows closed and you left the building and came back a month later, after obviously the gas was shut off, the building wouldn't still be full of gas. It would disperse through any means it can. Any tiny little hole in the building, in the cracks in the frame of the window, any means that it can get out, it will, with time. That's entropy. It's just how long does it take for all of those gas particles to eventually collide with that hole and go through it outside? Well, if there's only a small amount of holes, it's going to take a very long time for all of those gas particles to eventually collide with, and I say collide, you don't collide with the hole, but just for the purposes of illustration, reach the hole and not bounce off it back into the room, but bounce out of the room, if you will. Well, that will happen with enough time.
I think
Hold
Elijah
on.
had a good point.
I got something better than that, though. Why do you think they evacuate a whole building complex if they smell gas? Because it's going to go everywhere.
Yeah,
but Elijah had a good point.
They need to mop the floor.
Yeah, they don't say everyone to the top floor. The gas will eventually go down, go boom, boom.
But Elijah had a good point. I don't know if everybody caught it.
I did.
Yeah, asserting mass attracts mass. It's like that's their claim, but somehow we get red herringed off into this. Like they're not proving their claim.
Agreed.
Mass attracts mass is not even their claim anymore.
Nope.
Although it is taught to school children and given in the same way you're given the fundamental foundation for your understanding when the word science is used very early on in school, you're also given the fundamental foundation that mass does attract mass and that gravity is a force. They lay that foundation for you too.
Well, have we ever met an anti-flat earther that asserted that mass did not attract mass?
How about met? I could quote George Musa if you like. Gravity is not a force. You can think of it as a force.
Is George Musa an anti-flat earther, though?
No, it's a heliocentric priest.
You got to remember that quote from him was in response to an anti-flat earther trying to get him to say that gravity is a force. He was quite firm in making sure he didn't say that. He elaborated a lot, but what he didn't do was back the flat earth thought, what did he? Pointed out to him, no, I'm going to give you the correct priestly rhetoric. You can interpret it how you want. You know what I mean? But what he had to give was the truth, the same as Brian Cox has to give.
Interesting.
Sorry, I just want to quote Brian Cox. There isn't really a force of gravity at all. End quote.
Interesting how these people are such purveyors of the scientific methodology, and then they say, but you can interpret it any way you want. Why would you do that if you're really interested in truth? Well, you can interpret the truth the way you want. I'll interpret it the way I want. That's what it sounds like to me.
Hang on a minute. This looks like dog food. It is dog food, but you can think of it as filet mignon.
How can you interpret if A, then B, if A, not B? How many interpretations of that are there?
One. You can only have one or the other stand true.
So then how can Harold Jacobi say you need a right angle and a 90 in order to do celestial navigation, and then at the same time draw a picture of a circle with curvature to it? Obviously, a circle would have curvature, and then a tangent plane, and having two sides of his mouth going. How can you get a 90 degree on the surface of a curve?
But we can't divine Jacobi's motivation in that regard. Presumably he wants to get his book published, and the current rhetoric, the current religion, is heliocentrism. If it was 500 years ago and he had to incorporate Christianity in some form or another to get the book published, he probably would have done that too.
Well, the point is, George Muser telling, like the flat earth, you can interpret it however you want, giving him room for another variation of something rather than the absolute meaning of something.
Yeah, well, that's what makes him a good priest.
Neil deGrasse Tyson is the best priest.
Do you think so? I don't
He's
know
the
if
worst.
I don't know if I'd.
He's
Well,
the
he's pretty.
best.
No, hold on.
He's
We'll
the
get both
best
sides.
actor.
Go on. Your case for Neil deGrasse Tyson being the best heliocentric priest. Feel free.
Well, he's just very smart. He's attractive. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson, if you look at him, he's one of the smartest guys in America. He's a lot smarter
Attractive?
than people wherever you're from. Where are you from, Canada?
Huh? Hey? I don't know what you're talking
He's a
about.
lot smarter than you weird Canadian sounders.
Well, you can think of, hang on. You can think of Nathan as Canadian if you like.
Yeah, what a booty.
Yeah, I think Mooser might be the best priest.
Being a good
I
priest
think
in my
Wernher von
mind.
Braun is probably the best priest, to be honest. He's probably the smartest guy, a lot smarter than you.
Von Braun?
Yeah, von Braun. You ever heard of him?
Of course.
He's a pretty smart guy. Best friends with Walt Disney.
What's it have on his gravestone?
Psalm 19.
Some
Psalm
psalm,
19.
some Bible verse, but we know the Bible's gay and fake.
Oh, God.
Oh, really?
Trying to
Really?
trigger my panel. What does it say on Werner von Braun's
Kick this asshole
tombstone?
off.
Oh, no, I wanted
It
to
says
talk some
Psalm
more.
19:1. You guys are flat earthers. You don't even know that?
I didn't know what was
No,
on his
you're
tombstone.
gay
though.
and fake, and the Bible is exactly the opposite. Now that people have become gay is their own issue. The Bible isn't. Quite the opposite.
I have to agree with Arwen.
No,
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
As a transgender black woman, I find all of this
Then
highly
you don't know the
problematic.
Bible.
Oh, I know the
Does
Bible.
knowing
Me and Neil
Walt
deGrasse
Disney make
Tyson.
you smart?
No, you don't, because
he's a Christian.
you're
We go
not
to the
sure about
same
what I
church.
just
Neil
said.
deGrasse Tyson and I go to the same church in New York.
Do you really?
Just don't know what angle is.
Hold on. You and Neil deGrasse Tyson go to
yeah,
the
let's
same
hear
church.
this.
Is that true?
Yes.
Which church
What
is it?
church is that?
The United Methodist.
Is that so?
Where? I like
He
to
came and
visit.
spoke
Where?
at my church one time. Yes. Why you
Oh,
guys
okay, he
can't
came and
believe
spoke.
that?
That's slightly
Oh
different.
my God! I live in New
There it
York.
is.
Yeah,
Nah, don't
try to
demean him.
put
Fine.
that-
No, that's all right. No, that's
No,
fair enough.
they've known each other for 20 years.
Don't demean him. Okay, fine. At least you're honest. Yeah, okay, cool. That's cool. Still, doesn't need demeaning. But why did he come to your church? Why was a heliocentric priest, we all know the answer, by the way, in your church?
Because he's a Christian as well.
Of course he is.
Yeah.
Hold
He's
on, I
big
got a
Christian.
question here. He said that Neil deGrasse Tyson was attractive, and then he's saying the Bible's gay. Are you projecting, my friend?
Maybe.
Yes.
So
That's
what?
correct,
Is it
yeah.
illegal to be gay? in the
Maybe,
chat?
so what?
Is it now a crime to be gay? What do you want to behead me? What are you trying to kill me because I'm a homosexual? Is that what it is?
Sorry, are you a homosexual? Get out!
No, I'm
Oh,
not.
that's all right. You can stay.
But you guys were being a lot of gay hate. I thought this is a flat Earth group. I thought flat Earth was inclusive. I mean, you guys know that the ball is 8 inches per mile squared. I don't know why you guys can't just agree to that.
Hold on, let's just clear up this confusion. Hold on. Everybody stop. After Flat Earth debate ends, the room does get taken over by Stars for Swingers. Maybe that's why the confusion's here.
No, it doesn't.
The only iteration of gayness, homosexual, was when he came in and just attacked the Bible. That's the first I've heard of any
I'm happy.
slurring
The Bible describes the Earth as a circle, so obviously it's a ball.
A circle.
Really?
What's a circle? What's a circle?
Man, let Tent Man
A circle's a ball. A circle's a ball.
Oh,
And if
really?
the
A circle is a
if
ball.
the Earth was flat, the cat would have knocked everything off it by now. You Canadians, you big sounding Canadians.
This guy's quite alright.
Hey, I'm sure you a circle is not a ball.
Just one at a time, though. Don't get triggered, because we will lose all comedic value if you're all talking through all the games.
I just want to know if he's related to the rock guy.
To the who?
To the rock guy. You know, buildings and rocks.
My aunt is a Rockefeller.
Spheres are
Now we're getting somewhere.
Guys,
Now we're getting
spheres
somewhere.
are all molten circles. Come on.
Hey, what's this guy's name? He's my favorite baller now. This has to be my favorite
Pick a
baller.
new name.
No, I started, I farted. I just had my vaccine, so I'm a little bit groggy. But honestly, you guys are so weird. I don't know why you guys don't think that the Earth is not spinning 1,100 miles around the equator. I think it's pretty obvious.
Bit less than that in the heliocentric model, but
well, you could debate that. But listen, this is how you can prove it. When you fly from New York to California, it's a little bit longer because gravity holds us on a little tighter when we're going against the grain. You guys don't know
Sorry,
that.
so did you say a little bit longer? A little bit longer, New York to where?
Yeah, even though it's spinning underneath us, it holds us because
California. He said New
it's
York
it's the Coriolis effect. You guys never heard of that. You guys need to
Well,
crack up.
you must have never heard which direction the Earth spins then.
Yeah, it spins towards New York. That's what I'm saying. But because of that, it creates a Coriolis effect.
It would get
that's what you think. See, that's what you guys don't know anything, so that's why you think that. But if you knew something, you would know.
Hold on. Let's just get clarity. Do you just hold on, everyone else? Just 1 second. Do you actually think that the flight time should be longer when traveling west? Is that your position?
Yes, because you're going against the spin of the Earth, so you're fighting the inertia of the Earth. Common sense, bud.
What? He's got to be joking.
Is he attempting a ball?
He's joking. This guy's putting us on.
The force of this spin, you're going against it, bud. It's common sense.
All right, so why doesn't it happen?
So what? Hold on.
It does.
Hold on. Stop.
It's
When he's saying why doesn't it happen, his position is that the flight time should be extended when travelling west. That's his. First of all, his premise for the model is wrong. Secondly, it wouldn't be lengthened; it would be shortened.
No, because it's flying against the spin, so it's going against all that, pressure from the spin of the Earth.
Against the pressure of the spin of the air. What pressure are you on about?
Yeah, the atmosphere, dude. I'm sure you guys probably think the moon landing's fake too, and obviously Don Pettit is one of the smartest guys. He knows they accidentally destroyed the technology. Like, you guys are a bunch of just liars when you know that we had that technology.
I love this guy.
Are you related to Alex Dean by chance?
No, my name is Jeffrey.
Prime time.
You're a pretty good troll. You're pretty funny.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Thank you, Jeffrey, for proving the globe. These flat earthers didn't know that you have the proof for the globe. Thank you very much. I was waiting 6 years.
It's very simple formula: 8 inches per mile squared. You guys saw the skyline of Chicago from Lake Michigan. The Earth is flat. Ooh, you guys.
Thank you very much because without you.
Why don't you relax and have a conversation?
I did not realize the sun is 93 million miles away. It's obvious.
Guys,
yes.
What you're not picking up on is he's an anti-troll. He's a parody, a mirror reflection of a globe troll. That's what he's doing. Just so you don't take it too seriously. Takes skill to do what he's doing, by the way.
Triangulation. He said triangulation. What do you need to make a triangle?
You need a dick and balls, which you don't have.
No need. No, that's too far. Only I can do that.
Yeah, I love that.
I just don't understand why you guys don't know more than Neil deGrasse Tyson and Brian Cox. Obviously, they're pretty smart guys. They've been on Joe Rogan. They've been on Joe Rogan. Has anybody here been on Joe Rogan? I didn't think so.
And Mick West's been on there and all.
So what?
But
So
you're
is Mike
still here.
Tyson.
You're not watching television and Brian Cox, man. You're
They're
still
my
here.
heroes.
You're
Them
still
and
here.
Professor Dave. I love them and Professor Dave.
Yeah, but you're still here.
Just let him go. Go ahead. What else you got?
He's like,
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
This is awesome.
A bunch of flat earthers. Y'all talk about the Antarctica Treaty. Wouldn't Russia you think all these countries are going to agree to it? We're in World War III with Russia. Why wouldn't they just say, hey, this treaty's fake, or hey, the International Space Station's fake, if it was fake? Don't you think they would do that? Smart people in the room?
Because it takes a lot of effort and it makes everything a lot more complicated. So they all think, let's not do that.
Stop. Let's address that.
I can't believe you answered them.
Guys, Neil, thank you. So what you're doing is you're trying to appeal to an aspect of your side, if you're a baller, the argument, so that we can debate within the framework of how the people in that arena i.e. the ISS controllers or NASA or whoever, would react and why they wouldn't say something. Well, we don't come at that particular discussion point from that angle that you're trying to impose on us. We come at it from an angle of the place that they're claiming to operate in, regardless of whether or not they disclose anything about that, is a fake area. So the sky vacuum that the ISS is claimed to be in is a fake place like Narnia. It violates the second law of thermodynamics. That's how we address it, rather than addressing the motivation of the people who disseminate the information.
Gas pressure can exist next to a vacuum if there's a big enough space, bud.
What?
So can you show us
No.
that?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Without descending this into chaos, without appealing to your fundamentalist religious belief in a sky vacuum, can you demonstrate gas pressure next to a vacuum?
Yes, I fart next to my vacuum all the time, and it doesn't suck it all up. I can still smell the fart. There you go. Science.
Well, that would be proving our point that entropy takes place then.
Well, not necessarily, because it does suck up most of the fart smell. It's actually less if I fart without the vacuum. It actually smells a lot less strong. So I think that proves my point.
Lovely.
What is the vacuum?
Meanwhile, so that's not really you showing us anything. It's just you describing.
Okay, well then, guys, if the International Space Station is fake, why can't I go out and see it? Why can't I go to NASA.com and it tells me exactly where it is if it's fake?
Okay, so what you're seeing is a light in the sky, and what you believe that light in the sky is what NASA present it to be. And what I am saying is what NASA present it to be is a tin can in orbit in a sky vacuum. Now, that doesn't alter the fact that there is a light in the sky, and I don't know what that light is. What I do know is what NASA claim that light in the sky is a tin can orbiting in a vacuum, a violation of natural law.
Well, guys, we have a rover on Mars taking pictures, so I'm sure you think those pictures are fake, too.
So Mars is a light in the sky, and NASA claim to have traversed a sky vacuum, second law of thermodynamics violation that you've now transposed onto the light in the sky called Mars that they claim is a rock in orbit. Again, to get to the rock in orbit, actually a light in the sky called Mars, you'd have to traverse a second law of thermodynamics violation sky vacuum. If they could get to Mars through the sky vacuum, we'd all be dead, because if they can get to Mars through space, so can all the gas we're breathing.
Okay, well, how about this? I know this is a room full of white supremacist Canadians. Your leader, Elon Musk, just bought Twitter. Why do you guys like Elon Musk if he's faking the Tesla?
We don't.
I'm Dutch.
Sorry. Now, before we go any further, what was the list that the other guy just gave? Elon Musk is very handsome and very sexually desirable and all the other gay things the other guy said about Neil deGrasse Tyson. However, while we're not exactly gay for Elon Musk, he also peddles the same exact lie as NASA, which is to say he's claiming via SpaceX that he goes into a sky vacuum. That's a second law of thermodynamics violation. If you can send a Tesla with a little man in it into the sky vacuum, then so can all the gas that's moving at high velocity in all directions to fill availability of volume. It's natural law.
Nathan, there's a line, isn't there? There's a line, and being all the gay jibes, the white supremacy is fine, but if he calls me Canadian once more, you got.
It's an outrage. I agree.
Well, I don't know your accent. I'm not an accent expert. I'm a globe expert.
Oh yeah.
You
can't decipher my Dutch accent.
I didn't know that. Oh, self-professed globe expert here. How do you get an elevation angle from a
globe
curved?
Expert. I know a lot more than you can.
That's fascinating. How do you get an elevation angle from a curved baseline?
Oh, it's easy. Open your eyes and read a book, something you guys have never done in your life.
Sorry, obviously don't understand the question because globe believer, right? My question was about a measurement of an angle, elevation angle. How'd you get one on a globe if the surface is curved? That would be your baseline.
Listen, we know it's curved because we can see a ship.
That's not my question.
Shouldn't it have disappeared from the top down if it would?
That's not my question.
It's a red herring.
Sorry, red herring. Yeah, non sequitur. How'd you get an elevation angle globe expert if the surface is curving?
Answer the question
I'm a
Nathan has
vegetarian. I
presented
don't
to you.
eat rat.
Whoever's muting him, can you stop?
I don't eat fish, so I don't know what that means. Red herring. I mean, my mom used to go to Red Lobster. I don't eat it.
Okay. Navigation on the surface of Earth requires angle measurements, and the angle is a measurement off a baseline. Baseline for an angle can only be straight and flat. It's going to be minus from 90. We're talking about a box on a flat plane when you do this. So we're asking, given that you're a globe expert, how do you get that angle measurement, elevation angle measurement, from a curved surface?
Well, we can tell the trajectory of the angle through the sun and the other planets that we can obviously see through the Lucifer telescope. You guys would never know that because you guys none of y'all own a telescope.
Right, that's non sequitur fallacy. Do you not
Well,
understand
do you
the
own
question?
a telescope? Do you own a telescope?
It's a non sequitur to my question. So again, asking me about a telescope, we're not using telescopes to measure angles.
Listen, I'm a plumber. I'm not actually a globe expert, but I do.
Oh, so just a plumber, eh? Neil deGrasse Tyson's not actually attending your church
So
on a regular basis. Shocking. Are you actually a globe believer? I suspect you're a flat earther.
Yes, I'm a flat earther. You retards can figure it out now. Duh. Obviously, we don't have gas pressure.
You almost had me, you little sod.
Physical barrier. Hey, you guys gotta wake up, Nate. Come on.
No, that took skill.
Exactly like
that took skill.
Hell? You guys retarded? How would it be a ball? And how would it flight if the Earth is spinning underneath it be longer? The fact
Well,
that you even
we're very
placated with
hungry,
me
as you
shows
can
your
tell.
intelligence level's not even close to mine. I'm the flat Earth Professor Dave.
Excellent.
I was impressed
love this
with the I don't eat fish to the red herring fallacy. I thought
Yeah, that took skill. Whoever you are, kudos. That took skill.
That was good.
I don't eat
guys
fish
ever
either,
heard
but I
he
do
sounds
take
like?
fish supplements.
You know who he sounds like? He sounds like the guy on YouTube that's been trolling the city councils, the school boards. That's who this guy sounds exactly like. Every bit of it. So
That's what I said. Alex Steen.
Yeah, but he's from Dallas. He's from
He
Dallas.
sounds exactly like Alex Steen. Same voice, same jokes, and he is funny. Alex Steen is hilarious.
Is Alex Steen the guy on Jeranism show in the suit?
Yes.
Yes.
Ah, okay. We've never spoken before. If it is you, Alex. Very nice to meet you.
He sounds like a John.
Canadian.
Steen, it's all Mandela affected, whatever.
I recently chatted with
He
Russian vids, and he's under
Mini
he's under the impression that you're a shill based on your popularity.
if he's trolling, he's the best kind of troller. Let him troll. He can troll all day long.
Yeah,
I don't think Alex Steen ever goes out of character in public, so he just does his thing.
Fair enough.
Just shows you how
Who
hungry
was
we
that?
are.
By the way, who was? What was the name of that person? Because
Alex,
please come back. That was
Alex
fun.
Steen or Stein.
Is that who was just talking?
I don't know. He didn't confirm or deny.
Alex Steen, he has a
Sounded like
channel
him.
called Conspiracy Castle. Conspiracy Castle is his channel.
We're aware of that. Who was the person in Discord though? What tag did they have? Name?
Dude, that was definitely him. He's on with David Weiss and Jaren. Yeah, Rose 777. He's the same guy
believes in
who
that
not only does
Tartaria
he
shit.
troll the councils, but he has like copycats now who are copying his act, trolling these councils. He's probably hated far and wide in the Fort Worth area.
Well, he's also hated within certain aspects of the community. So I don't know who he is, and I watched Jaren less and less recently. I've got to be honest. So I've seen him in thumbnails with his name underneath.
He
That's
kicks
it.
that Tartaria shit.
Is he really?
Yeah, he's a mud flutter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he also sounds like a damn drunk. Hope I catch him out here in Fort Worth one day.
Okay.
I just
Go on.
I'm sorry, I just dropped his channel into Master B.
I'll check
just
him
dropped
out. As I
his
say,
name into-
in discussion with Russian vids, that's the first time somebody had ever discussed him with me. And I was like, I didn't know who he was when Russian vids was talking about him. And, you know, he's very much of the opinion that the guy's been dropped into this community and risen to massive popularity really quickly. And I'm like, well, yeah, that popular, I don't know who he is. But there we go. I mean, that other than defeating Russian vids'
I
point,
think he just wants to be a YouTuber more than anything.
he's just keen, just works hard.
And he puts in everything. You know, the guy does have balls. He does take risks with his comedy performances and all that. He faces very serious situation with his hysterical comedy, and he keeps doing it. He constantly keeps doing it. Now that is kind of unique, you know.
I think what he's trying to do is, I think he's trying to show how ridiculous the viewpoints are. So I think that's what he's trying to do with the flat earthers. He's trying to show how so-called ridiculous the viewpoint is. So I think that's probably what he's trying to do. He's probably trying to hone his act even more. So.
Oh, yeah. And yet he's peddling mud flood.
And cock rocks.
I know he disappeared once we called him out. He's not here anymore.
What do you guys think about that Tartaria shit?
We just done several days on it in after shows, and then I've trimmed a couple of them out. Wow, what was the title of the one most recently?
Well, it just...
Oh, yeah. Stupid shit flat earthers say.
It's funny because it's like another attempt to take away the criticism where it really belongs. So you have like the people who think, well, all buildings were... I don't even know if this is true because every time I've heard the question, nobody really answers it. Do you think that all mountains are buildings? But the point is, I watched somebody like John Levi. He talks about Tartaria and all that. I didn't really watch those videos, but
That's
I've seen his videos.
Testosterone?
Guy with the low testosterone.
Suppose. But I've seen his videos on certain things, and the criticism is levied in a good direction when he's saying, look at this source, this government source, where they have an archive of photos, supposedly, and they have this photo here that was in this time period, and this photo here, which is only 2 years after that, from the same source.
Yeah, I think I've seen that guy.
Look at what's in the background.
Right, I'm pretty sure I've seen
shit
that
like
guy.
that is like...
Yes, he talks...
Sorry, go ahead.
Nathan, he talks
I was just trying to make the
slow.
point. I'm just trying to make the point that there are people that are pointing out where real criticism should be and real questions should be, but instead people want to talk about Tartaria and how the moon shows a map of the Earth and all this extra shit. When actually, no, there's a blatant lie right there, and everybody would rather have wild speculation, which takes away from where the criticism really should be.
Sure. I'm pretty sure might be the guy I was referencing when we were discussing it with the guy who presented the archway, and I'm like, what evidence have you got? And I said, well, I have seen people who have presented documented evidence like you've just described. I'm pretty sure I alluded to that. And I've got no issue with that. When people present you a paper trail and say, here you go, they say this was built in 1820. Here's a document that shows clearly it's in existence in 1650 or whatever. You go, yeah, that's reasonable evidence to present. And it does raise an eyebrow. Very interesting. But can I draw any conclusions from that? Do I know why they've lied about it? Does it mean that the entire history's been reset or 200 years been erased? Or no. Whoa. Just stop. That's interesting. Thank you for presenting it. Now just calm down your la-la land and put yourself back in your stupid box. Because no, it doesn't necessarily mean that 200 years have been erased from history, or that there's a massive conspiracy that involved antique tech that has been replaced by current tech that's actually the same. That's just your crazy La La Land interpretation of this. So one thing, present historic documents, show why you think they're lying, and then present the lie. That's great.
There's a paradox with this, the Tesla paradox. Because they're claiming that Tesla invented all this, it was all suppressed and he was killed and bumped off. But then there's also the fact that if all of this free energy stuff is true, then all Tesla would be somebody who remembered the old technology. So he didn't invent out, and he is therefore by definition a stooge to a method of eradication of the free energy. So he sits in an interesting place within this mud flood and free energy stuff now, because he's cited as a positive, but if what they're claiming is true, then he has to be just a stooge, just a fake.
And which do you believe, Adam? Because let's get into the speculation immediately.
I mean, you can't. You don't know. What you can see is contradictions in the historical narrative. That's all you can do. What you can't then do is draw a new conclusion.
Exactly. If you see inconsistencies in the narrative, what we used to label a lie, just an inconsistency, you can either go to the person that's presented that inconsistency, doublespeak, contradiction, whatever it may be, and start appealing to them for the truth of the matter. Or you can go, I see inconsistency that makes this unreliable. So do you go back to the unreliable source and ask them to expand upon their unreliable information? I would say probably not. Do you impose your own complete nonsense on it? Oh, definitely. That's going to be the way forward.
Well, there is a middle road, though, that you could follow. You could just look at the basic patterns. So something from all this false history, and it's all not what we think it is, supposedly. What I derive from it is, it seems that the picture we've been presented through a timeline was in reality more compacted. Now, how it is exactly compacted, that just remains to be speculated about. It just seems that there's not as much time in between everything on the wide scale than is made to appear to be. That's the conclusion that I drew. Now, exactly how that makes reality, I'm not sure. It just seems that it's just
the wrong term. It's not a conclusion that you're drawing. It's an inference that you're disseminating, as opposed to a conclusion that you're drawing. Now, and that's fine. Your inference is fine. The problem is that the people on the fringe watching this stuff on YouTube, they'll take it to the next extreme. And it becomes true speculation. And you're like, oh, God. Offer your opinion, that's fine too. You're entitled to your opinion. And there was a time where I was vaguely interested in this stuff too. Until I realised that the dissemination of the information by numpties makes it so implausible by what they're describing that it just makes me feel uncomfortable. And then when it's strapped on the side of flat Earth, makes everybody around me look stupid. That's how I feel about it at the moment. And now I've seen this happen time and time again. I got here and it was Mandela effect, still lingering like a stinky old fart. Then it was no forests on a flat Earth. Now it's buildings used to be mountains. Every couple of years, this crap that gets inserted or injected into our community comes along. And a whole bunch of Muppets jump on it wholeheartedly, expand on it, and turn it into their worldview. It's like, oh, right, so the excitement has faded for the obvious and observable nature of reality. That paradigm shift wasn't enough anymore. So let's start making up crap that inference would suggest that, blah, blah, blah.
Right, but the problem is that people, they latch onto an idea that they can contain in their mind, and then they fantasize about it all day. Like the guy, I'm very certain that the way he was talking and describing about melted buildings, that he's just going around and looking at mountains and then just fantasizing, oh, what would that building have looked like? That's why he believes in it. It's busying therapy using his fantasy, and it works really well for him. But he doesn't actually get to figure out reality with that. He's just playing with it, right? And he doesn't realize that he's just playing with it. That's what happens with a lot of people.
Everything is not a lie.
And why have you got...
Right.
Go on, Adam. Go on.
There are other channels that address this. If you look, Static in the Attic is a good one that takes a more he's a builder and takes a more pragmatic approach, not just saying it's impossible for us to have done that. It has to have been built by giants. And he goes to demonstrate how we can do these things. One of the greatest things I saw, it was on that E-War, because what we tend to do is diminish our ancestors in these statements. And we look at the great cathedrals and say we can't do this, we can't do that. But saying in this E-Wars, he points out Liverpool Cathedral, probably the greatest cathedral in Britain, and it was built in the 1900s. It took 75 years to build. And it was built by a load of Scousers in the traditional way, with ropes, pulleys, yeah. And it's the greatest cathedral in England. It stands above all the others. It's magnificent. And it was built in the old way, and it took 75 years, yeah. So we could do these things. There are questions as to how the society functioned. And they're the things where you can draw inference to say, wow, the society must have not just been absolute peasants living off potatoes, you know what I mean? And then there must have been more to what we're told in the history. But it doesn't mean it has to be completely different, because there are still people in history that exist. That history's there. And we look daft if we go, history's all made up. It's not. It may be conflated, there may be things, but these things are there as best we can tell. So to deny it all and make out that it's all made up, I think is and I say it's too far. Look at the things and see the anomalies. Yeah, if you look at all this free energy stuff, look at the mud floods, look at what they're actually doing. They're covering up they're covering up and hiding water technology, not free energy. But all of these things are technologies that were there, were used, and are now hidden, which is why you see a lot of stuff buried, is the reality. That, to me, is a lot more plausible than sonic weapons and antediluvian floods that leave our cities like this. Yeah?
I got a question.
Final bit, if you're going to reconstruct history and retell people what the future is, and I do think society does that now, we can see that. So to pretend it didn't happen in the past is naive. But if you're going to do these things, then, and you're wanting to change the narrative, then it seems a lot more plausible to me that the wit of man and the evil of governments would be the cause of all these things, as opposed to, like I say, strange antediluvian experiments or aliens or sonic weapons from the sky or random comets causing the New Madrid earthquakes and stuff. I would suggest look to the evils of man as to the causes, as opposed to necessarily as much.
Well said.
I got a question. Have you guys ever looked into that? Pretty much all religion is just basically hiding sexual transmutation.
Hiding what?
Here we go.
I couldn't make out what he was saying either. What are they hiding?
Transmutation.
Sexual transmutation. The chi, bringing the light, all that. Freemasons, the Hindu, all that shit. Every time they talk about source, it's all pretty much talking about.
You can't just insert that on the back of.
I know. Flat Earth
they're
debate,
hiding
mate.
something.
Yeah. Again, as a black Jewish woman, I find this highly problematic.
Well, hold on. What we were talking about, like silly conspiracy theories, right? Like tied to changing histories. Like that would be one, wouldn't it?
So would the lizard people.
I just think it's a bit
Cats
beyond the
are
scope
the
of the
real
show.
rulers.
That's all, if I'm honest.
There's scientific fact of this alchemical process inside the body.
You say scientific facts?
A chemical process in the brain. Yeah, that's cool. But you can't really measure experiences, you see? You could measure what's going on chemical release-wise in your body, but that's about as far as you go. So any structure you're going to attribute to the information of your experience within that is not feasible for science.
Yet all religions speak of it. I just find it kind of weird. But that one woman, Kelly Marie Kerr, she's I think an English woman. She has a YouTube channel. I think she has a famous book called The God Design. She explains it pretty good. It goes within science and anatomy of it, and it's pretty much spot on, I would believe.
There goes that magic trick science word.
I missed the part that all religions believed on what? Can you specify what all religions believe on?
Do you have to?
Yeah, the pineal gland shit, the cerebral spinal fluid going down from the what is it? The sacrum, I believe, all the way up 33 vertebrae. That's where the Freemasons come in. You know, all that hoopla.
No, that's why I'm asking you.
Blah, blah, blah.
Hold
What are
on.
we talking about?
Excuse me. As a Christian, I've never seen that. I've never heard that in the Bible or the Christianity for the last 45 years that I've been a Christian. So please explain that in
Sounds
more
like
detail.
It's the same thing like Flat Earth. You just haven't looked into it then.
Yeah, we have.
You can support him on that.
Oh, no,
I read the
need.
Bible cover to cover, and I've never seen any of that.
You are going to go to a Kelly channel, right? No one's going to read the God Design book. No one's going to look at a 5-minute video of it, right?
No, you made a claim. You made a claim that all religions agree on this one particular thing. I found out to be interesting because rarely do you get religions agreeing on anything. So I wanted to know the specifics of that.
Exactly.
And you haven't said any. Can I finish? So I'm going to give you another chance to explain what this one thing all religions agree on, and then I want a few citations. Go.
I'll give you some 10th.
No. I want him, Adam. Put him on the spot.
I know what he's on about, though. So.
I know. You know. I know.
Okay, well, help me out then, because it seems like we're trying to make a victim of some shit.
Hang on. Why would I help you out when you made the claim?
Asking Adam.
Exactly.
I'm asking a question. I'm asking the question like, hey, are you guys familiar with this subject? And do you find truth, any type of validation for it? I'm asking the question, man.
Wait a minute. That wasn't your. Hang on.
Yeah, he did say that.
Okay. Let's take control. Fair enough, 10th. Go ahead.
Okay. So you are now saying you said something that qualifies it, but then you immediately argued with me when I said, where is it? I've been studying the Bible for 45 years. You didn't sound like a person saying, no, I'm asking you, 10th, because I don't know. You didn't say that.
Well, hold on.
Oh my God! I don't know.
No, hang on, John.
Fucking court with.
No, it's not court. You made a claim. I'm calling you on it. Then you're saying you never said it, that you were asking us to say something. That didn't sound like the conversation I was a part of.
I'm asking a question, dude.
What question are you asking?
I'm just trying to see if there's any other like-minded individuals. That's all I'm asking. Is there any like-minded individuals?
Let's start over. I could have misunderstood you. What question are you asking?
I'm saying there's this sexual transmutation that goes on in a human body that has to do with the hydraulics of the heart, the breathing of the lungs, the synchronization of left brain, right brain hemisphere. But it's all what they talk about when they say the light. Also, an old dude named Bill Donahue also spoke of this a lot on YouTube. But what do you guys think of that? Am I ringing any bells?
Overgeneralized. You didn't really make a point.
You're conflating two things.
And Adam, 10th is begging to let him take this.
I can't get the
No, because it's
not no. 10th is begging to have a one-on-one. Come on,
Thank
guys.
you. Thank you, Eli. You said a lot of things there. You want to repeat at the start so I can pause you at each one? Okie doke. See, everything he just said, the conflation of all those things,
sexual transmutation.
Yeah, sexual transmutation. I'd like to have some citations of that. I've never seen that in the Bible or anything like that.
It's not in the Bible, but it is in Hindu texts, right? And
no, but he said all religions. No, I agree, Arwen. It could be somewhere else. I'm only testifying to what I've read, and I know Hindu Indians, and they've never came across, as I frequented and was in business with one, any of this stuff. So I'm just trying to figure out what he's getting at.
Okay,
Well,
fine.
since Adam knows, can Adam say?
Neil. He's asking Jean. Have I said your name right? Don't be shy. Your mic's open, but I'm not hearing anything.
All right, well, if he's not going to respond, I'll let Adam continue to what he was trying to say.
Just one second.
Drop a rejoin Discord.
I don't know if it might be me. Can I get a word out of someone else in Discord?
No, it's not you. Gene, drop and rejoin. Gene, just exit out and then rejoin the stream again. All right, go ahead.
Okay, Adam, is that you presenting?
Yeah. We just addressed the pineal gland first. If you look here on the right, the pineal gland is that little third eye that you would see in Hinduism expressed as.
Yeah, I hope y'all record this.
On the forehead, you'll see Zoroastrian here, look, all indicating this use. The eye of Horus is a cutaway of the brainstem, which hypothalamus and inside the third eye again being the pineal gland. In terms of it in Christian stuff, it's not in the Bible, but again, it's symbology of higher learning in institutions. So you'll often see it expressed in Christian mythology as a pine cone. So you'll see it here in the Vatican on staffs and stuff like that. So that's its supposed route to the symbology. In terms of the other stuff where he's talking about sexual transmutation of energy, that's up your Kundalini tree and is to do with black and white ejaculation. So for a man not to waste the fluid, but to contain an orgasm and send the energy up through the chakras, so the orgasm is achievable without the spilling of fluid. That's what he's talking there. That's in relation to Samson and Delilah, because that would be the biblical analogy, that long hair would indicate this power and strength, and that's what the indication is there. She took his seed and took all his Kundalini strength, which is why he was no longer able to have the strength. That, I think, is what is being described.
They didn't call it any. They didn't have any description of the mechanics, right? It's just like he has power and focus, and then his hair is taken away and it's gone. They don't give a mechanical.
I'm sure 10th's desperate to get a word in. Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, well, Samson was a judge in Israel. He was chosen. God told, do not shave anything off his head. He's not to have strong drink. Of course, Samson violated a lot of things himself in his life, and that's what got him in trouble. But nothing in the scripture refers to anything Adam says that they say it is. Now, I believe they say it is exactly what Adam says, but that's outside of Christianity, projected onto Christianity. And the Roman Church has done that as well. So I don't consider the Roman Church Christian whatsoever, even though they have facets of Christianity, because they bastardized the Bible in so many ways. So I don't care if they got an acorn on the staff or not. It's nowhere in the Bible.
Right.
They brought us heliocentrism, so of course they bastardized the cosmology.
Just a quick question. Who cut Samson's hair?
Delilah.
Right.
Wrong.
What is this?
Stop.
Delilah, it was the gods.
Hello. Sorry, what did you say, 10th?
Well, Delilah knew the secret, and then he had the. I'd have to.
That's not my question.
Story, but
that's not my question. My question was who cut.
I said Delilah. I said
incorrect.
The gods, the troops.
Fine, I haven't read it in a while, but you know what? She's the one who got the secret.
Call yourself a Bible literalist.
How dare
No,
you?
Well, I guess I am because I'm in the bind.
It wasn't Delilah that cut his hair.
Yeah, we established
Fine.
that about 20 seconds ago, Neil.
Yeah, that's fine. There's a lot of things I get wrong in the Bible when I'll have to just go reread it.
But if you've
none
got
of this
that
stuff is in
wrong,
there. What else can I get? What else can I get wrong?
What else do you have wrong, right? Good one, Nathan. That's a real baller trick.
No, it's the second baller trick. The first one asking about who cut the hair, and the bottom line is the guy came in here talking about this assertion that nobody can actually legitimize with any. Where's this information coming from? Okay, we have like baseless assertions based off of of what exactly?
I want to know who cut his hair because I just read Samson and Delilah about 2 months ago, and I thought it was Delilah too.
It was a
So
servant.
Go ahead, Nathan.
Philistines.
It was a servant.
It's not clear.
Right, it was a servant in the sea,
Are y'all
She
serious?
instructed a servant to do it.
It's not clear whether it's her or the servant, as far as I remember, but she's the one that sedates him. She gets him to go to sleep, and then
She brought in a Philistine. I'm reading it right from the thing. And the
I
Philistine
think the
cut
words
his hair.
are, she ordered that his hair was cut. Something like that.
Yeah.
It could be argued that
No, we don't know anything about the need through any pineal glands to do perverse sexual things. No, we don't know about any connection to that in all religions. The answer is no.
But it's claimed to be responsible for sort of base instincts, sort of fight or flight, your survival, your sexuality. Your base instincts are telling you basically don't die, reproduce. And that's governed by your pineal gland.
So then everybody with long hair is what?
A lover and a fighter.
Samson.
Amen to that. I've had long hair more than half my life, so.
There are exceptions.
That's a horrible argument. I mean, this is garbage at this point, right?
No, this is science.
I still have long hair.
Right, I've got
Things in rare form today, man.
He said, no, this is science.
Does a wig count?
Does a wig?
Does a wig count if you're bald? I mean, if you're bald and you want to identify with this pineal crap, can you get a wig?
Nope. If you're bald, you're bald. You're not part of the club.
Okay, what you got here?
If you join hair clubs for men.
Hold on, Adam's presenting. Go ahead, Adam.
By literal translation of the Hebrew, it's rendered the following. And she, Delilah, made him, Samson, sleep upon her knees. And she called for the man. And she cut the 7 locks of his head. Or she had him cut the 7 locks. So it's still it's unclear. It can be rendered either way. But I think if you go to the Hebrew, it's more likely her.
I stand
corrected.
corrected.
Paula.
At this point, can we settle that's a close shave?
No, not a close shave. I was.
No, Nathan.
I will concede I was wrong.
Nathan, so
No, I was wrong.
So correct.
Yes, you were correct. But
No,
more
Ted
accurately
was
speaking, I was correct.
What's going on here? What is this about again?
So we can pull from this that if you cut your hair, you're shaving your pineal gland?
No, pineal gland's part of your brain.
All right, so this is all just a garbage attempt to throw things together that don't mean anything.
Yes, that's
well,
right,
it does
John.
mean something, right? The hairs are, in another tradition, this is purely ethereal and don't have any historical reference or religious references. Maybe there are, but the hair does seem to have a sensory ability. So that if you're cut shaven, you don't pick up as much. You're not distracted. People, I think even like the Rastafarians have this woven in. You're right. So, but I believe in that. I definitely believe in that from personal experience. That's why
Can I read something?
Cut my hair.
Can I read something from Paula, please?
No. Will it be more embarrassing for me? If so, no.
She says the Philistines. Delilah had them come in and do it.
So I was more accurately right all along.
Correct.
No, I agree with Adam. Hold on. It is open to interpretation.
It seems quite a contended thing because, scholars are looking at it.
Adam, I find this...
Paul is more right than wrong.
Adam, I find this very appalling.
How does who cut his hair? How does who cut his hair tie into the pineal gland at all?
It doesn't.
They're trolling us, man. They've been trolling for like the last 10 minutes.
We're just trying to find out, John, to answer your question, if you're as learned in this subject and if you've, become enlightened with the research that we have or not. And obviously not.
I just want to answer the question of John, refract curvature. Well, what does that have to do with one another? Well, both are sensors, right? Pineal gland is a sensor for your spirit. Hair is also a sensor for your spirit. Both connect. They add up. Yeah, hair.
You see, QE, that's why you got to get your computer fixed and we got to break down the scientific method again. Because everybody's going off the rails.
Well, you might believe that.
Cut off yesterday.
Not invoking
I just had a pretty good haircut yesterday, man. I'm down to like 1 millimeter of hair on top. So am I screwed?
Yeah, Kundalini power
maybe
at 0.
you're a little less sensitive now. So yeah, I recommend that.
Sensitive to what?
When you shoot your arrow, you're gonna
to hunger and bad foods.
Oh, God.
Are you
let me. Are there more humanitarians that have like rust? Like, do they have long dreadlocks or something?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Bruh.
Right, I've got a summary, which leads to no clarity whatsoever. Consequently, the man can be considered to be the person who brought Delilah the razor, which was then used by her to cut Samson's hair. But it is also possible to regard the man as someone who is armed with the razor, cut Samson's hair by order of Delilah. In both instances, Delilah is responsible in full. In the first instance, very directly. In the second instance, indirectly through an intermediary. It's not clear.
So is the just so we're clear, is the statute of limitations now up on this or what?
I'm done.
Well, I'll tell you what.
What proceeding has been over for a while now.
Can Samson sue? That's all I'm interested in.
Can Samson sue?
It's not clear who he would be suing.
Has he suffered loss?
Lack of concession.
What are the damages?
He's dead, isn't he? So he's not going to sue anyway.
Oh, are we perfectly? I mean, are we purposely moving away from the whole trafficking aspect of how he was trying to tie all of that into like all the religions everywhere?
No, I've just spoken to the financial analyst, and he's saying that Kundalini loss isn't really quantifiable financially. That's all.
Okay.
See, when a baller doesn't concede, we want to call him a liar. But that's just not right. Pride is a hard thing. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you can call it hard.
Sometimes it's hard to
Pride is kind of conceptual, so to describe it in those terms, soft, hard.
Close to reification. Matt, Willie East, if you kick that hornet's nest, these guys are like ready and raring to go, brother.
They got long hair. They got full of Kundalini.
Yeah.
Do you like how I'm misusing that word, Adam?
I think the guy he was probably gonna segue into Aether. So yeah, we'd be here all day.
What is it?
It'd be so convoluted.
Nah.
Yeah, that's
get
what I
segue.
Owen just ended it. You say we'd be here all day. You say we'd be here all day.
What's Aether?
You say we'd be here all day, but pretty much Arwin ended it before you'd finished your sentence. I don't know if you heard him.
Yeah, what's Aether?
Yeah, I want to know. I really do, Arwen.
Well, I think we shouldn't be splitting hairs on the definition at this point.
Did you see the definition I posted? Somebody posted something in Discord. Was it yesterday? And I posted it in Skype. Let me go in there. Sorry.
The definition of
I should have had
for
it
Aether.
Yeah.
No, I didn't, but I will have a look. I've just turned my lights on. I was just about to round out, but I will have a look.
No, don't round out. Shit.
Hold on.
Where's Master B at? Probably a lot of messages in there, right?
Yeah, there is quite a lot, but I'm sure I can find it. Also, as you're here, and I keep saying, when you send me the audio clips, I can't play them on my iPad. But the only time I can play them is while the show's running, because it's expected that once the show ends, my wife expects to retake possession of this space, if you know what I mean. So I just have to shut everything down, and I can't listen to them. There's too many messages in Skype, too many messages in Master B. Sorry, can't find it. The definition.
So you want me to send that last one to you right now?
The audio clip and the definition, yeah, that'd be great. And I'll play Go on.
All right, the definition is now in Master B. I think it was from Napalm, posted it in there, or maybe not the definition, but he gave a little spiel.
It's too.
And let me go find the.
It's too small to read. Can somebody read out the definition? It's too small on my screen.
Yeah, I've got it. Do you want it on screen as well? Or?
I've got it on screen. I just can't read it. It's too small.
This is a conversation ether with people who always need to quantify things, but the metaphysical cannot be quantified. I get it and understand the propensity to do so, but if we have energy here and it cannot be created nor destroyed, only change forms, this begs the questions. What is this background energy we have in this realm, and how do we define it or attempt to do so? This is what most would call ether, the field necessary for all matter to manifest, and you will never be able to quantify it.
That it. First thing that irritates me about that statement is they don't understand the phraseology of the term. That begs the question. No, that raises the question of. Doesn't beg the question. Anyway, sorry. Majoring on the minors, my bad.
But it is annoying.
It is annoying. I hate it when people say, well, that begs the question. No, it doesn't.
It's unquantifiable. Is it qualifiable?
Oh, you're going to go through the contradictions? I thought they stood alone. Okay.
We've gone now. Is ether now energy? Because there seems to be stating energy can't be created nor destroyed in its totality. Fine, but then we're saying it's now this total amount of energy in the universe, which we accept. How do we define it? Well, most people would now call this the ether.
No, you missed a step. Take that entirety of everything that we experience and juxtapose it with counter space. Then it's
where my coffee pot is.
Oh gosh darn it! I need more counter space. How do we get this counter space? I bet my counter's full.
Well, what it sounds like everyone's saying is it's just a medium for energy to propagate through and manifest literally everything.
No, this is what I'm saying. It's making statements about energy, which we're going to nod to. Yeah, energy cannot be created nor destroyed, only change forms. This raises the questions: what is this background energy? Well, suddenly it's gone to background energy, not just the total energy in the universe. What is this background energy we have in this realm, and how do we define it or attempt to do so? So what they're now about to do is turn the familiar term energy, which is still conceptual a bit, but now it's going to be also ether. This is what most would call ether, the field necessary for all matter to manifest, and you will never be able to quantify it. Well, a minute ago we were talking about energy. Suddenly now energy is the ether, or the ether is energy, or does ether condense to become energy? It's still
right.
The background
This
energy.
is a bit of a double speak. He went on to say that with people like us, stereotype fallacy, who always need to quantify things. Well, you can quantify things or qualify things, right? You called it energy. So you can definitely qualify it and quantify it. So Napalm, you got some answering to do. This is double speak. Right?
Is he in VC?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay.
All right, you're going to play the clip?
Oh, did you post that too?
Yeah, Master B.
Okay. Yeah, they'll definitely play that. Thank you very much for doing that.
Yep.
This is MC Booger Eater.
There is no triangulation in celestial navigation, so it is actually triangulation. There is no triangulation in celestial navigation, so it is actually triangulation.
With celestial navigation using a sextant, we're not triangulating.
So it is actually triangulation to the GP. So you can draw it on your chart, draw a line there, and then you do it for all three, and you get your intersection. So it is actually triangulation. There is no triangulation in celestial navigation.
With celestial navigation using a sextant, we're not triangulating.
So it is actually triangulation.
Are you serious? Are you
The double speaking McBooger eating, ball-tard bum sniffer wouldn't know what the sextant or celestial navigation were if they climbed up his arse and started kicking footballs wrapped in concertina wire.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
I think the sun is a physical object, and I think it is solid enough.
What the hell did you just say?
I think the sun is a physical object, and I think it is solid enough.
Say what?
Yes, a gas giant bounces radar.
How in the world can a
gas giant
be
solid enough? So yeah, I don't know.
You dumbass cracker.
You are so dumb. Damn.
And with that, I'm going to say another huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, joining as a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member, hitting the PayPal link and all that good stuff. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!